unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, we can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. Sometimes I'm kind of given a topic for a talk. I think, oh, so I take it and I see what comes up. And today I've got liking oneself. So I thought I'd see where we'd go with it. Well, we're often told to love ourselves. We say we need to love ourselves before we can love others. But liking oneself, I love everybody, but can I like them? It seems a bit more down to earth to say liking oneself, a bit more accessible somehow. I feel I can kind of go somewhere with that. Love can kind of seem like a duty sometimes. I love my relatives, but I don't really like them very much. Reverend Master Yu, we just did her memorial. In her introduction to the Wild White Goose, her diary of her time in Japan, she writes, "However much other people disliked me, I disliked myself a lot more. I needed to change me." She'd gone to the East, right after pretty soon after World War II, and she was thinking, why is there so much hatred and cruelty in the world? Why is the world as it is? I want answers. She was angry. And then she realized when she got there, after she'd been there a little while, that actually her real question was, why do I have anger and cruelty and hatred and so forth? I need to do something about myself, not just try to fix the world. So, to do something about her anger and selfishness. She's very honest about it. And we all have anger and selfishness and all these other things. She wasn't alone. When I began as a Buddhist, I didn't like myself much either. I wasn't that nice a person. I had a lot of anger and a lot of selfishness. And with training, I began to change, as we all do. And of course, Reverend Master Jiyu certainly did. By the time I knew her, she was not that angry, confused person that she had been. So, we do our practice, we do our meditation, we learn to sit still when things are difficult. We try to keep to the precepts, to cease from evil, do only good, and do good for others. And we become more likable. We just like ourselves less. We're nicer. But there's more to liking oneself than this, actually, but I'll come back to that. I've often said, training makes us happier and nicer, and so it does. And it shows that we're on the right path. If we're not becoming happier and nicer, there's something wrong. We're missing something. But this isn't the goal of our practice. We're not training just in order to be happier and nicer. They're just a byproduct, actually. A welcome byproduct. It really helps. But it's not really the true purpose of our practice. Our true purpose is to realize the truth and live in harmony with it. It's not just to become happier and nicer. But we welcome being happier and nicer. It really does help. And of course, it helps us to like ourselves more. If we're happier and we're nicer, we're less fed up with ourselves, and life becomes easier. As has often been said, Westerners tend to be very self-critical, judgmental of both ourselves and others. There's all sorts of reasons for this. We might have faults that we find it very hard to correct, lots of anger and ill will, envy and jealousy, greed and selfishness. We've all got these things. We might have them in spades and find it really hard to convert them. And we might dislike ourselves, or even hate ourselves. We can even, hate ourselves, judging ourselves in this way. I'm such a horrible person. Or maybe hate ourselves because of things we've done in the past, or things that have been done to us, that have happened to us, or some other past karmic thing that causes us to hate ourselves. There's all sorts of reasons. But this is a Western thing, as some of us know. When the Dalai Lama heard that Westerners often hate themselves, he couldn't understand it, and he had to have it explained to him. And then he burst into tears at the thought that people could hate themselves. He had no idea. It was something he'd never heard of. He'd never heard of it. They don't have that in Tibet, and maybe most of the East, but it's a Western form of suffering. We might not all hate ourselves. Reverend Master Ji, you didn't hate herself. She disliked herself. She doesn't talk about hating herself. But many of us, maybe most of us, do judge ourselves. I mean, we always seem to come up short. We're never good enough. Whatever qualities we may value, we don't have enough of them. We're not good enough. No matter how hard we try, we're never going to come up to scratch. It's bottomless. We'll never feel we're good enough. We can work ourselves to death. We can train as hard as we possibly can, sit up all night till our legs fall off. We can do all kinds of good deeds. Whatever it is, it's never enough. It's bottomless. Because we're trying to do it the wrong way. Trying to make ourselves good enough doesn't work. Because it's based on a delusion. The delusion of a separate self that doesn't come up to scratch, as I said. The delusion that we're separated from Buddha nature. Everybody else has got Buddha nature. Somehow I missed out. You know, the compassion and goodness of the universe, it's for other people, it's not for me. So if you have that kind of view, it's bottomless. You're never going to be good enough. So we need to do it differently. We need to work on acceptance, not struggling to do, be perfect, but to accept ourselves as we are to start with. Still trying to do our best to work on our shortcomings, but with acceptance and kindness, not with harshness and judgment. Because if we're going to love somebody or like them, we need to accept them, not to try and fix them. See them as they are, not as we'd like them to be. Not trying to make them the way we want them to be or to see them in some kind of deluded way. We need to see them clearly and accept them as they are. And when we like somebody, we don't judge them as harshly as we might judge somebody we don't like. We all know what this is like. Somebody we like, oh, it's fine. They're a nice person. It's okay. Somebody we don't like, how could they do that? The same thing. So, to like ourselves, maybe we can cut ourselves a little slack, not be quite so judgmental. This doesn't mean we become complacent and self-indulgent. Oh, I'm just like that. I'm fine. I'm not going to change. It's not that. But to accept ourselves as we are, to see ourselves with a kindly eye, as we are, with all our faults and shortcomings and all that. Maybe we can be a little bit more at ease with ourselves. If we can just kind of consider, can I like this person? Yeah, loving this person. I'm not sure about that, but I can like this person. They're not bad. This is me. They're not that bad, To consider that we do actually have some positive attributes. We do actually sometimes do some good things. We do help beings. And not to forget that, not to just think of our faults and shortcomings and criticize ourselves, but to think, well, am I that especially awfully bad? It's a bit arrogant to think I'm the worst person in the world. To like ourselves or to be more at ease with ourselves. We're just a human being. We're nothing special. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be horribly the worst person in the world. We just try to do our best, a normal person. And if we find it hard to love ourselves, well, can we like ourselves? Surely we have something about us that's likable. It seems more practicable, more realistic to think about liking oneself somehow, more relevant to our daily life. Can I like myself? With all my foibles and shortcomings and foolishnesses, can I like that person? Well, actually, can I see myself as just an ordinary human being, not especially wonderful, not especially hateable? To think we're wonderful is pretty deluded, probably. We may be wonderful, probably not. And it's not helpful. Otherwise, where do you go from there? If you're wonderful, where do you go? How do you do better? And to hate oneself is just as silly, really. It puts us in a special category of people worth hating. rather than just an ordinary person. Reverend Master Daisvi, our former head of the order, I've quoted him 1,000 times with this. He said, "I would like to be remembered as a halfway decent human being. Not even a fully decent human being, a halfway decent human being, an ordinary, reasonably nice guy." He had no wish to be something special. And of course, those of us who knew him knew that he was a whole lot more than a halfway decent human being. But he wasn't trying to be something special. So there's two aspects to liking oneself. This first, doing our very best to meditate, keep to the precepts, become more likable, become happier and nicer, actually, to work on our shortcomings and the things we don't like about ourselves. And secondly, to be content to be an ordinary person, not trying to be special. To be a person we can like and be at ease with, It's pretty hard to be at ease with a saint. And it'd be pretty hard to be at ease with somebody who's completely horrible. But an ordinary, normal person we can just have a cup of tea with, And these two aspects don't stand against each other. The aspect of doing our very best and being content to be an ordinary person. They actually work together. Just doing our very best, but not trying to be something special, some superhuman being or anything. Just being a person we can get along with, So I kind of like the idea of liking oneself. And then there's the other aspect of the real purpose of our practice, which goes beyond our preoccupation with ourselves and am I likable, am I not, Buddha nature, that which is, that's not going to judge us. We don't have to worry about whether the Buddha likes us or not. It's completely irrelevant. It doesn't apply at all, as we know. It sounds silly. Does the Buddha like me? Ridiculous. So to trust our aspiration, our wish to do our best to live in harmony with truth. And paradoxically, in order to relinquish our self-concern, our endless self-concern, we need to learn to be at ease with ourselves, to accept ourselves before we can really let go of self. Wise old monks exemplify this. They're not all tight and critical and demanding. They're relaxed and kind. They may be tough with their disciples, yes, but they have a kindness there. They're not just trying to give people a bad time. They may be very disciplined with themselves, but they do it from kindness. Kindness to themselves, actually, because they know that the best way they can help themselves is to do their practice. They don't, give it up. Oh, I'm fine, I'm relaxed and kind, I'm nice, I'm the Dalai Lama, I don't have to do anything. They've learned to accept themselves, like themselves, and love themselves with all those years of training, relinquishing selfishness. Some of us have been reading the Book of Joy, which is about the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Some of us have talked about it during some of our Dharma talks. And the Book of Joy is a book about how to find joy in the world of suffering. What it comes down to is to be concerned more for others than for oneself brings us joy. That's it in a nutshell. Looking for happiness for ourselves doesn't bring us much joy. Trying to make other people happy or being concerned for them is joyful. Giving is joyful. Generosity is joyful. Gratitude is joyful. And there's always virtues that they talk about. Compassion. It brings us more joy to find compassion for other beings and for ourselves than to be mean and, self-concerned. To learn to like and love ourselves in the same way as we might like and love other human beings. Nothing special. We're not a special person. We don't have to be something special, but to just accept ourselves as we are. Learn to be more at ease with ourselves while trying to do the very best we can. If we can do that without that harsh judgment there, It's quite an art for us Westerners to learn to do that. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not still enough. Oh, my meditation is awful. Oh, my practice is terrible. Oh, I keep breaking that precept. All this endless stuff. Well, can I actually like me with all that, with all my faults and foibles? Can I like me, you know? Maybe I can work on that. Maybe we can all work on that. Reverend Master did it.